God of War Ragnarok is on the horizon and is one of the most highly anticipated games of the year, and my most anticipated one. In celebration of the 4th anniversary of God of War 4, producer Cory Barlog appeared in a video on Twitter to show appreciation for the fan support throughout the years and also gave a quick update regarding where God of War Ragnarok is in development. The critically acclaimed God of War 4 was released on April 20, 2018, marking the day as the 4th anniversary of the much-celebrated title. Fans across the internet have been posting various pieces of fan art, praising how the game holds up 4 years later, and feeling nostalgic for the original God of War game which was released 17 years ago. Video game director, designer, and writer, Cory Barlog, has been with Sony Santa Monica since the original God of War and was the lead director for the 2018 game. Barlog has now stepped into a producer role for God of War Ragnarok. In a video posted to Twitter on Santa Monica Studios' account, Barlog shows appreciation to the fans who have so enthusiastically enjoyed God of War, joining Kratos and Atreus on their journey. Barlog states, "It is your support that allows us to keep doing the things we love to do," and then segues into the elephant in the room, God of War Ragnarok.
Doing the things that we love to do. Speaking of God of War Ragnarok, the elephant in the room. Yeah, we haven't said a lot about this. That's because everybody is heads down, hard at work. We are perfectionists. Everyone's tightening up the graphics on level 3. There is so much going on right now that I just wish that we could share it with you, but it's just not ready to be shown. But I guarantee you, the moment, the very second that we have something that we're ready to share, we're going to share it with you. Because we don't want to hold any of this back. So please hold tight. Know that something cool is coming, and that everybody here at Santa Monica, is so incredibly thankful for all the support you've given us. All right. Have a good 420.
At the present time, Sony Santa Monica doesn't have anything too significant to share, but Barlog reassures fans that the team is hard at work making something special. Barlog shared details surrounding the current state of Santa Monica, stating, "We are perfectionists. Everyone's tightening up the graphics on level 3. There is so much going on right now that I just wish that we could share with you, but it's just not ready to be shown." The last time fans got a look at the game was during September 2021's Sony State of Play showcase, where God of War Ragnarok received its first official trailer. However, fans eager to see what is next for Kratos and Atreus might not have to wait too long before their wishes are granted. Cory Barlog goes on to state, "The very second that we have something that we're ready to share, we're going to share it. Know that something cool is coming," and then proceeds to thank the fans for their continued support. The year is still young, and more State of Play showcases are likely coming soon as the video game reveal season approaches. Fans of God of War could expect to see Ragnarok within the coming months. Many fans are showing further support for Sony Santa Monica, and telling the developers to take their time with Ragnarok. God of War Ragnarok was delayed late last year, and has gone quiet since then. With such large shoes to fill, Sony Santa Monica is likely being cautious, and making sure that it presents the game that we are hoping for at the right time. God of War Ragnarok's reveal trailer promised to deliver the same caliber of storytelling and gameplay that the 2018 game did, which is a challenging feat to pull off. This update might not be as exciting as a gameplay trailer, but it at least reassures us that the game is coming along nicely and God of War Ragnarok will meet our expectations. The original teaser for God of War Ragnarok consisted of a logo and the year 2021. Many users probably expected it to get pushed to 2022 due to how little information was revealed. Sony officially delayed God of War Ragnarok to 2022 in June of last year, and a developer at Santa Monica Studio reiterates that the game will release this year. Bruno Velasquez, animation director at Santa Monica Studio, confirms that God of War Ragnarok is on track to release in 2022. He answers a question asked by a fan on Twitter, who appears to be looking for some assurance regarding the game's release date. The fan seems to have complete confidence in the development team and mentions that they don't want to see any footage. As God of War Ragnarok was initially scheduled to release in 2021, it makes sense for the game not to face further delays beyond 2022. However, anything can happen between now and the studio's internal targets, so we will have to wait for Santa Monica Studio to share the official date. Sony will probably host a State of Play event for God of War Ragnarok to go over all the new features and improvements. Speaking of improvements and new things, it has been hinted that Kratos will receive a new weapon in God of War Ragnarok, and there are a few options to pick from in Norse mythology. Santa Monica has been very secretive about the upcoming game, but it has been kind enough to drop a few details to keep the hype up. The main villains have been revealed, along with an explanation of the significance of Ragnarok. Little has been revealed about the weapons of God of War Ragnarok, but when discussing the Leviathan Axe of God of War 2018, developer Bo Anthony Jimenez tweeted that he cannot wait for players to react with similar excitement when they see what the studio has been cooking up with God of War Ragnarok. This has caused gamers to speculate about what new weapon Kratos could wield, and there are a few options in Norse mythology. Information regarding the range of weapons in God of War Ragnarok is sparse. The trailer shown at 2021's PlayStation Showcase revealed that Kratos' Leviathan Axe will be making a comeback. This weapon was originally introduced in God of War 2018, and it caught the gaming world's attention through the unique way it is used. Kratos can fling the axe, then call it back, allowing it to damage multiple enemies when it is traveling to and fro. The trailer also revealed that Kratos' Blades of Chaos will also be returning. This weapon has been in the series since the first game God of War 2005, and it will be familiar to any God of War fan. Jimenez's tweet is in response to a streamer on Twitter commenting on how good the Leviathan Axe feels and pointing out how hard the developers at Santa Monica must have worked to perfect it. His response suggests that God of War Ragnarok will also feature a new weapon that has a mechanic similar to the Leviathan Axe. Given the Nordic mythology themes in the game, it is useful to turn there to see what new weapon Kratos may gain. According to the Poetic Edda, gungnir, also known as the Swaying One, is a special spear that is wielded by Odin. When Odin throws the spear over the heads of the assembly of the Vanir gods, he triggers the start of the Aesir-Vanir War, which ends with the unification of the Aesir and the Vanir into a single pantheon. The Prose Edda prophesies that during Ragnarok, which is a mythological apocalyptic event, Odin will march forth with Gungnir in hand, and he will use it to attack the wolf Fenrir. Although Odin does not make an appearance in God of War 4, he is mentioned a few times, and it is never in a good light. It is Odin who imprisoned and tortured Mimir, and Kratos destroys Odin's ravens wherever he finds them. God of War Ragnarok could see Odin finally making an appearance, and an epic battle between him and Kratos could result in Kratos acquiring Gungnir. A spear also matches Jimenez's tweet, as Kratos could throw the spear and recall it much like the Leviathan Axe. One of the most unique weapons in Norse mythology is Leviatine. It is forged by Loki, and it is needed to defeat the Vidopnir, a rooster that sits atop the World Tree, also known as Yggdrasil. Although it is debated by scholars, many agree that Leviatine is a type of wand. Some have even argued that it is forged from the mistletoe that was used to kill Baldur. Having Kratos wield a wand would be a novel experience, though it would fit in with his character development arc. In the past, Kratos was a man who relied on his muscles to solve all his problems, but experience has shown him that rage is not always the answer, and that sometimes reason and even-headedness are better solutions. Equipping Kratos with a weapon that relies on the mind rather than on the body would demonstrate that Kratos is a man who has truly matured. The weapon could also tie in with Jimenez's tweet should it allow players to manipulate enemies from a distance. Canonically, the inclusion of Leviatine makes sense, as the Yggdrasil makes an appearance in God of War 4. The sequel could have Kratos and Atreus discovering more about the tree, and maybe even facing Vidopnir, which would require them to use the new weapon. Defeating Vidopnir could be a means of unlocking more regions of the Nine Realms. Norse mythology is teeming with swords, and each of them carries its own legend. Having Kratos wield a mighty sword would certainly make him look cooler than he already does, but only a handful of swords are truly a good fit for him. Perhaps the most obvious pick is Freyr's sword. In Norse mythology, Freyr is the god of fair weather and sunshine, and he is also the brother of the goddess Freya. To marry Geirr, Freyr gives away his sword, but that leaves him defenseless against Surtur when Ragnarok comes. Freyr's sword is fitting for Kratos, as Kratos already has a connection to Freyr's family. Kratos and Atreus meet Freya in God of War 4, although they part on bad terms after Kratos kills Freya's son Baldur. Kratos acquiring Freyr's sword could represent further entanglement with her family, giving Freya even more reason to seek revenge. Lastly, Kratos could acquire the Hofud, which is a sword that belongs to Heimdallr, a god who keeps a watch for Ragnarok. According to Norse mythology, he has excellent sight and hearing, as well as prescience. It is no secret that Ragnarok will play a big role in the next God of War game, so Kratos may cross paths with Heimdallr. If he is a friend, he might gift Kratos the sword, and if he is a foe, Kratos may acquire the sword after a heated battle. After several delays, God of War Ragnarok is finally closing in on its release. There are many questions surrounding the game, and plenty of gamers are desperate to see how Atreus will cope with the knowledge that he is a god or how Kratos will deal with Freya seeking revenge. Should Kratos receive a new weapon, there are plenty of options in Norse mythology to ensure that gamers are as blown away as they were the first time they used the Leviathan axe, as it could be the only Mjolnir, Thor's mighty hammer. 2022 has already been an excellent year for Sony as it released Horizon Forbidden West and Gran Turismo 7 to rave reviews. This is not excluding Bungie's Destiny 2: The Witch Queen, also one of the highest rated games of the year. Assuming God of War Ragnarok releases by the end of the year, 2022 will probably go down as one of the best years for PlayStation Studios.
Tyr!
Are you coming with us?
You'll get your answers soon enough. Well, some of them.
A PlayStation developer claims he is working on something equally cool as God of War Ragnarok, which I don't agree, but he says he isn't allowed to talk about it just yet. It's plenty obvious that Sony has got a lot going on under its PlayStation umbrella, and that many of the company's long-term plans aren't getting revealed to the wider audience anytime soon. This is pretty standard fare, of course, but what's rather surprising is that there might be more PS games coming out in 2022 than initially suspected. According to Robert Morrison, a PlayStation Studios visual arts developer, he's been working on a completely unannounced project over the past couple of years, and it's supposed to be coming out sometime in 2022. There's not much information to go on, truth be told, but certain tidbits do shape a potentially very exciting picture for PS5 owners. The full list of video games coming out on PS4 and PS5 may be getting another entry in short order, because Morrison is a first-hand source as an actual PlayStation developer. He said that he spent the last 3 to 5 years working on a project that's not God of War Ragnarok, as some Twitter users initially suspected. Though he was careful not to share any details, Morrison did say that it was something equally cool, and left it at that, kicking off theory crafting on what the game might be. It's possible that Morrison's claims are related to the Naughty Dog project leak from early April, which revealed the existence of the Last of Us Online game, as well as an entirely new single-player fantasy-themed intellectual property and a remake of The Last of Us Part 1. Of course, this is no more likely than the idea that the game that Morrison talks about is something new entirely, and there will be no way of knowing until it actually gets revealed in the first place. On that note, it's been revealed that there's a PS5 exclusive horror game in active development, and that it's running on Unreal Engine 5, promising unprecedented visual fidelity across the board. As Morrison specializes in animations and visual design, his expertise may have been put to work on this unannounced horror game, where he is more likely to be needed than on a Naughty Dog project. Either way, there's no way to know just yet. This information does underline the fact that PlayStation Studios has got a lot of moving parts milling about, and may end up getting larger still in the near future, as the rumored Sony acquisition draws closer. All the information discussed here should be shared with a pinch of salt just in case, though it's hard to imagine someone as prolific as Morrison sending his followers on a wild goose chase for no reason. Speaking of Naughty Dog, a new Uncharted may be in the works for PS5, and there are a few gameplay tweaks that Naughty Dog can make to revamp its established formula. A recent interview with a Naughty Dog employee seems to hint that more Uncharted projects could be in the works, something which is sure to excite fans of Nathan Drake. After so many years, a return to these adventures can't just be the same old song and dance. It would need to bring some new concepts to the table. A new Uncharted game is always welcome, and I hope they take it to new levels. In September 2021, Insomniac Games surprised its fans by announcing the development of Marvel's Wolverine alongside the sequel to Marvel's Spider-Man. Wolverine is easily one of Marvel's most popular characters, so it's exciting to see Insomniac pick him up. But given Insomniac's workload with Spider-Man and Ratchet & Clank, some questioned where Marvel's Wolverine would fit in. It seems that fans may have worried unnecessarily, as a recent update from Insomniac indicates development is moving along swimmingly. The update comes from Mike Yosh, a lead animator at Insomniac. Yosh made a post on Twitter on Thursday reading, "So peaceful and quiet. It will not be like this for long." Attached to the message was an image of an empty motion capture recording studio. The lights in the room were all on, a stack of papers laid out in front of Yosh, and a cup of coffee sat waiting to be drunk. It's clear that Insomniac is preparing to start some serious motion capture work for Marvel's Wolverine. The state of Marvel's Wolverine's development has been a topic of much curiosity since the game's announcement. Many fans of Insomniac's work worried that the game had been announced much too early, and that it would be years yet before it arrived. That may still be the case, but the confirmation of motion capture recording moving forward does indicate that development may be further along than expected. To be fair, it's entirely possible that Yosh's tweet isn't related to the development of Marvel's Wolverine. It could be for Marvel's Spider-Man 2, which is expected to launch earlier than Marvel's Wolverine. But it can likely be assumed that the post is about Marvel's Wolverine, as Yosh has made clear that's the project that he's working on. What Yosh's message and photo do not do is make clear how far along Marvel's Wolverine is in development, nor does it help provide a timeframe for Marvel's Wolverine's release. Starting motion capture recording certainly makes clear the game is moving forward, but also that there's a lot of work to do yet. It's unclear when Insomniac will share more information about Marvel's Wolverine. Marvel's Spider-Man 2 will likely remain the company's focus through its launch, which is tentatively planned for 2023. As such, it may be a year before more information about Marvel's Wolverine is shared. Hideo Kojima is one of the most uniquely talented people currently working in the games industry. With the Japanese government recently granting the Death Stranding director an award, his recognition in the arts has been given kudos as the creator continues to put out interesting work. On top of that, speculations have been flying that his studio Kojima Productions was in the lineup to be acquired by PlayStation Studios, but the man himself took to Twitter to say that there will be no acquisition. According to a recent tweet, Kojima Productions will not be merging with PlayStation, and Kojima clarified that his company will continue to be an independent studio. The rumor began after a banner on the PlayStation website, specifically for PS Studios, swapped out an image of Concrete Genie and replaced it with Death Stranding, leading many to believe that the tech giant was about to acquire Kojima's outfit. However, it looks as though this is not the case, and Kojima says that it's simply a misunderstanding. With PlayStation acquiring a number of game studios recently, including Haven Studios, Valkyrie Entertainment and Sony buying Bungie for a massive sum, it's not surprising that many thought Kojima Productions was next. For good or ill, Hideo Kojima seems steadfast that no acquisition is currently in the works. Or it could be a troll, but Bluepoint Games and Insomniac Games also said the same thing before getting acquired by Sony. Recent rumors also point to Sony's next acquisition bigger than Kojima Productions. Some say it's From Software, others say it's Take-Two, and with the recent report of Ubisoft getting ready to sell, anything is possible. Kojima Productions' endeavors as a new developer have been shrouded in mystery since Death Stranding's early promotional marketing days. Several rumors have since stirred about what Hideo Kojima's independent studio is up to next, such as which platforms it will adhere to when its newest title is eventually announced. It appears that a series of back-and-forth claims refute one another in terms of what platform or platforms fans may expect to see Kojima gravitate toward. Claims had previously suggested that Xbox was in talks to publish Kojima Productions' newest game. Now, more evidence seems to suggest Kojima's move towards Sony, but a notable leaker seems to believe that will not impact a collaboration with Microsoft. He still perpetuates the idea that Xbox and Kojima's deal is recent and still on. Other details are scarce, as has been the nature of Kojima Productions aside from Death Stranding. Interestingly, he believes that an Xbox deal would not necessarily affect an acquisition from PlayStation. This suggests that it is possible Kojima could have dipped his toes in both platforms for one exclusivity deal after the other, but it is not clear to what extent this is true or if it would even be plausible under the circumstances. This discourse resurfaced once more due to recent PlayStation acquisition rumors, where fans had noticed that PlayStation's updated first-party banner featured Death Stranding. While this could have been decided upon simply to showcase Sony's own titles, it does create an implication that Kojima Productions may be acquired by Sony at some point because these banners are typically known to represent Sony's first-party studios only. If so, it is curious that Kojima Productions would be represented in PlayStation's banner if it is merely an independent studio. If an Xbox and Kojima deal does ever come to public fruition, it will be interesting to see how fans react after previous rumors of such a deal caused anti-Xbox petitions from fans who clearly were not happy with the idea of Kojima Productions' newest title making a departure from PlayStation. Whether Kojima Productions eventually teams with Microsoft for a new Xbox game, is acquired by Sony as a first-party studio, or both is yet to be seen. Kojima was recently hiring for an unannounced project, so it may still be some time before fans hear of any game announcement, let alone a studio acquisition. Hideo Kojima has been a consistent force in the video game development world since the 1980s. Given that the Metal Gear Solid games are some of the best espionage titles ever made and Death Stranding has certainly made waves, his name carries a lot of weight in the industry, with many considering him something of a gaming auteur. For now, at least, it looks as though Kojima Productions will remain an independent studio. Moving forward, Sony confirms the planned release dates for its new PlayStation Plus subscription tiers, including PS Plus Premium. Sony's PlayStation Plus subscription service has been available for over a decade now, giving PlayStation users across a variety of platforms access to exclusive discounts, monthly free games, and other perks. Sony is set to make some big changes to its PlayStation Plus service within the next couple of months, as it is combining it with PlayStation Now to create 3 new PlayStation Plus tiers. The new PlayStation Plus tiers are PlayStation Plus Essential, PlayStation Plus Extra, and PlayStation Plus Premium. PS Plus Essential is PS Plus as it exists now, whereas PS Plus Extra gives subscribers access to some newer games. PS Plus Premium, meanwhile, is the most expensive tier, but it also gives users the most bang for their buck. On top of all the benefits that come with PS Plus Essential and Extra, PS Plus Premium subscribers also get access to hundreds of retro games from the PS1, PS2, PSP, and PS3 libraries. Sony has yet to reveal the specific games that will be available through PS Plus Premium, but more information is likely going to come sooner rather than later. That's because Sony has confirmed the release dates for these new PS Plus tiers, and it's coming sooner than many expected. The targeted release dates for the new PS Plus tiers are May 23rd for Asian markets excluding Japan, June 1st for Japan, June 13th for the Americas, and June 22nd for Europe. The keyword here is targeted, so PS Plus subscribers should keep in mind that there's a chance plans may change. After all, the tier rollouts are happening a bit ahead of schedule, so the release date plans have changed already. Since the new PS Plus tiers are rolling out in Asian markets on May 23rd, it stands to reason that more details on what titles will be available will be revealed prior to that point. Then again, Sony may choose to keep its cards close to its chest, and avoid making any announcements about the retro games until the service goes live. It seems unlikely, but it's not outside the realm of possibility, especially since it will reportedly include hundreds of games. In the meantime, it seems that some of the classic games set to be a part of PS Plus Premium have leaked ahead of time. Sony has not officially announced any of the retro games that will be a part of PS Plus Premium when it launches in June. However, the Korean ratings board may have revealed 4 of the games that will be a part of the service. New ratings have been issued for classic PlayStation games Siphon Filter 2, Siphon Filter Dark Mirror, and Siphon Filter Logan's Shadow. It's possible these ratings could be for a proper Siphon Filter collection or other re-releases, but the more likely scenario is that these games are coming to PS Plus Premium, or it could be just a renewal, as trademarks for Knack and Silent Hill were also renewed lately, but it is possible that these franchises may be making a comeback. And since the Siphon Filter games have been leaked in this manner, it's entirely within the realm of possibility that even more retro PS Plus Premium games will leak in the same way in the weeks leading up to its launch this summer. If this leak is accurate, then it seems Siphon Filter fans will be able to play through the entire series on their PS4 and PS5 systems, except for the PS2 game Siphon Filter The Omega Strain, which would be better to just have it on there as well. Despite the Siphon Filter series being popular with fans, it's remained dormant since 2007's Logan's Shadow on PSP. Developer Bend Studio since went on to make handheld spin-offs of the Resistance and Uncharted franchises, while producing original IP Days Gone for PS4. It's unclear what exactly Bend Studio is working on right now, but it's not a Days Gone sequel, so maybe Siphon Filter could make a proper comeback one day. Backwards compatibility on PlayStation consoles is a mixed bag. The PS2 is fully able to play PS1 games, and the PS5 plays PS4 games just fine, but that's about it. The very first PS3 was backwards compatible, but that version of the console was prone to malfunction and the feature was dropped altogether in future hardware revisions because of the cell processor of the PS3, that was revolutionary, but it was hard to port games from that system. While not backwards compatible in the sense of inserting an old disc into a new console, the PS3 and Vita also had large selections of older games to repurchase and download. This means that one would need at least a first-gen PS3 and a PS5 in order to fully access PlayStation's console library. This is why PlayStation Plus Premium is so important. It finally reunites a large library of PlayStation games on one home console. The possibilities are nearly endless when it comes to talking about the anticipated games for PlayStation Plus Premium. It will be nice to play older entries from popular series like Ratchet & Clank, Jak and Daxter, or Sly Cooper, but also to re-experience some lesser-known titles. Even if the early PlayStation console libraries are not entirely present at launch, the range is wide enough to ensure there is at least something for everybody. On top of this, there is an alleged leak of titles coming to PlayStation Plus Premium. While this leak is unconfirmed, and admittedly a bit sketchy in places, it gives a general idea of what players should expect. Series like Rayman, Infamous, and Prince of Persia are here, which successfully serve as nostalgia bait for those looking into the service. However, the games shown are all big names. There are some oddballs like Patapon thrown in there, but the real excitement comes from seeing which smaller titles are coming to the service. Being able to play a large variety of PlayStation titles all from the convenience of one console is great on its own, but it would be truly great if Sony followed up on the popularity of some of its older titles. For instance, Ape Escape could benefit greatly from an appearance in the classic game lineup. A Twitter account was created for Ape Escape's 20th anniversary, which strongly hinted at something new for the franchise. Unfortunately, this account was shut down and amounted to nothing. However, if the Ape Escape games come to PlayStation Plus Premium and see popularity, Sony would hopefully revert this decision and greenlight the long-awaited Ape Escape 4. This kind of thinking is far-fetched, as developing a game comes down to much more than popularity, but remakes and reboots are released often in this era of gaming. Even obscure franchises like Klonoa are receiving recognition now in the form of the Klonoa Fantasy Reverie series. While it is impossible to make a new game for every franchise out there, PlayStation Plus Premium will hopefully lead to this Klonoa treatment for at least some underappreciated titles. All hopes and possibilities aside, PlayStation Plus Premium is very exciting for both fans of the brand and for those looking to first get into it. A library of 350 older games is extensive, and PlayStation Plus Premium comes at a time when game preservation is getting both harder and more expensive, so any library of retro games is much appreciated. It is no secret that CD Projekt Red has had some prominent missteps in recent history with regard to Cyberpunk 2077's development before, during, and after its launch. After Cyberpunk 2077 failed to deliver on promises made, it is ultimately still in a condition that CD Projekt Red itself believes can be improved. In the wake of Cyberpunk 2077's reformation, fans were revitalized by the announcement of new title in CD Projekt Red's The Witcher franchise. Unfortunate news followed this announcement as The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt's PS5 and Xbox Series upgrades have been delayed. CD Projekt Red evidently has a lot on its plate between these two titles and franchises alone. But official financial information and data suggests that internal development is making changes, multiple unannounced games are being worked on, and updated sale figures have been determined. CD Projekt Red recently shared its financial FY 2021 earnings statements. These results were first shared as part of an earnings call with a presentation document that details new sales and cost data, as well as internal development plans. In its newly updated sales figures, CD Projekt Red announced that Cyberpunk 2077 has sold 18+ million copies and The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt has sold 40+ million copies as of today, demonstrating how lucrative both IPs have been for the developer. Because these results were shared publicly, it makes sense why The Witcher's new installment received an announcement when it did. A reveal from a financial call would have likely felt underwhelming to most fans, yet it maintains transparency within CD Projekt Red's current development conditions and allows for fans and insiders alike to see how development has been in the past year. As much as CD Projekt Red's financial results spell out a year of pivotal internal changes, it also takes a firm stance on positivity in the developer's future. Included in the results presentation is a slate of 2022 production plans that is sure to whet fans' appetites, and demonstrates that Cyberpunk 2077 is still a priority of CD Projekt Red's that it does plan to abandon. Besides further support for Cyberpunk 2077, it is stated that Cyberpunk 2077's future expansion will see continued development and is intended to release in 2023, as per CD Projekt Red's financial call. The Witcher's IP has amassed a brand new audience in its Netflix series, and has claimed the attention of its dedicated fans with the announcement of a new installment in its video game franchise. Indeed, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt's success and significance are not understated as a seminal open-world action RPG. In October of last year, the game's next-gen upgrade was reportedly slated for a Q2 2022 release. This meant that players could have expected it to release anytime between now and the end of June. Unfortunately, the wait for these next-gen upgrades will now be longer than fans had anticipated. CD Projekt Red has announced that its next-gen versions of the game need to be delayed from their previous release windows. The reason that CD Projekt Red offers for this delay is that its in-house development team will be finishing up the work that is left on these versions, and therefore they are evaluating the scope of work to be done. CD Projekt Red's brief statement at least mentions a reasonable cause for the delay, which may help to smooth out fans' reception to this news. It sounds as if work is nearly complete anyhow, so it may not be as terrible a wait as fans may imagine. Besides, as any gamer knows, a delayed game is better than a rushed game. It is unfortunate that players will not have their hands on it sooner, but if the delay results in a better product, then fans will be all the more pleased with it when it does eventually release. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt will benefit greatly from next-gen upgrades to its graphical fidelity and visual textures, but when these versions release is now anyone's guess for the time being. Because CD Projekt Red's new Witcher project will not have crunch, it is inferred that fans may not hear or see much about it for a considerable period of time. This seems to be a common thread with projects at CD Projekt Red now, and could ultimately benefit the overall workplace environment for employees, as well as the quality of games that players experience. Ever since the release of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt back in 2015, Gwent the Witcher card game has taken the world by storm. Starting its life as a small Witcher 3 minigame, the card game proved to be especially captivating and entirely addictive, so much so it spawned its own multiplayer spin-off in 2018. Taking inspiration from games like Hearthstone, Gwent the Witcher card game uses the base elements of Gwent as it appeared in The Witcher 3 and offers players the chance to build specialized decks for use in online tabletop battles. With an all-new, single-player Gwent game in production, codenamed Project Golden Necker, Gwent fans will be excited to get their hands on new Witcher content, though may be disappointed to learn that not every platform will support it. As announced by Gwent community lead Powell Berza, Project Golden Necker will launch later this year on PC, iOS, and Android. However, speaking on the April 15th This Week in Gwent stream, game director Vladimir Tortsov revealed that the developers currently have no plans to bring the game to consoles. This isn't the first time that console players have been left in the dust when it comes to CD Projekt Red games as, after failed releases, a few games have seen themselves removed from console stores. Just last year, Cyberpunk 2077 was shelved on the PlayStation Store following its bug-ridden launch which called for mass refunds. Moreover, back in 2019, support for the Gwent The Witcher card game was dropped on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One to save developer time as the game was being made available on Android and iOS. Regarding the subject, Tortsov elaborates that we left them, consoles, for a reason, stating that for live service games with frequent updates it was a really tough experience. Console development can be notoriously hard work, and often console players are left out when it comes to cross-platform games. Updates, new content, and beta testing almost inevitably appear on PC before consoles as developers work to clean up performance on the machines. When speaking about upcoming games like Project Golden Necker, Tortsov says overall, we're not planning to bring any of our spin-offs to consoles at this point. It appears that CD Projekt Red doesn't want to repeat Cyberpunk and Gwent's mistakes with Project Golden Necker, and by avoiding console development altogether they allow themselves time to create new card drops and content, keeping the game as relevant as Gwent continues to be. PC hardcore gamers are different than console gamers, so I can understand the situation for the type of game Gwent is, but I will appreciate it if they put these spin-offs on consoles. Up next we have a few gaming updates on several topics that we can take a quick look at. Sucker Punch's Ghost of Tsushima has been a striking success. From the developer of the infamous trilogy, Ghost of Tsushima was not only PlayStation's fastest-selling new IP ever, but a serious contender for many 2020 Game of the Year awards. Unsurprisingly, Sucker Punch followed up Ghost of Tsushima's release with robust post-launch support, including a massive expansion and a multiplayer mode. It seems that Sucker Punch is ready to move on, however, as its confirmed Ghost of Tsushima updates have tentatively ended. This past week Sucker Punch issued patch 2.18 for Ghost of Tsushima. The patch largely dealt with small bugs and balance changes for the Legends multiplayer mode. What was most important about it, however, was a small note from the Ghost of Tsushima development team at the bottom of the patch notes. The message confirms that Sucker Punch is no longer actively working on any additional patches at the moment. In other words, support for Ghost of Tsushima has reached its end. Sucker Punch does leave the window open in case it needs to address something in Ghost of Tsushima in the future. It specifically says it's not working on another update at the moment, which leaves open the possibility of doing another update later. Sucker Punch also says that it plans to continue monitoring feedback, particularly within the Ghost of Tsushima Legends community, in case any bugs or other issues appear. Ghost of Tsushima players can also message Sucker Punch on Twitter if they have any concerns. Sucker Punch also took the time to offer a hearty thank you to the entire Ghost of Tsushima community in this last message. The developer says it's thankful for the incredible amount of support and feedback that players have provided since launch. Legends especially grew into a much more active community than Sucker Punch ever expected. While there are no hints or clues regarding what Sucker Punch is working on next, it can be safely assumed that the development team is shifting its resources to another project. Perhaps that project will be another Ghost of Tsushima, or perhaps it'll be something different. Either way, that next game will have a very excited audience due to the successes of Ghost of Tsushima. The end of Ghost of Tsushima's post-launch support will likely be met kindly by players. While Ghost of Tsushima fans would love another expansion, and Legends players would love more content, we are all want to see Sucker Punch push toward another full game release.
Jin, you're late.
Following the conclusion of the EA exclusivity deal with Star Wars, and the establishment of Lucasfilm Games last year, there has been no shortage of Star Wars game project announcements. The latest entry to this list is a new Star Wars game in development by Amy Hennig's interactive studio. Game director Amy Hennig is a prominent name in the gaming industry with accolades such as Jak and Daxter, Legacy of Kain, and Uncharted. In 2018, Amy left EA to start an indie development studio with EA veteran Julian Beek, which later became Skydance New Media. In October 2021, the studio stated that it's working on a blockbuster Marvel game in collaboration with Marvel Entertainment. Today, the studio announced another equally ambitious project in the form of Star Wars. As per the announcement, Skydance New Media will join hands with Lucasfilm Games to bring the upcoming Star Wars game to life. It calls the project a richly cinematic action-adventure game featuring an original story. No specific details with regard to title, release date, the actual narrative, or anything else have been revealed in the announcement. The announcement also stated the studio has expanded since Skydance New Media's creation in 2019 to include a team of developers and artists with decades of AAA experience in action and adventure gaming. However, this isn't Hennig's first stint at a Star Wars game. Back in 2016, Hennig along with Visceral Games worked on a single-player Star Wars game codenamed Ragtag. But EA would later cancel the Star Wars game, which Hennig describes as the project being too linear and lacking in potential monetization mechanisms. It's unclear if the newly announced Star Wars title will take any inspiration or reference from the cancelled project. This latest announcement is one of several ambitious Star Wars games currently in the works by various development studios. Alongside Hennig's project, there's Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order 2, Star Wars Eclipse, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake, and Massive Entertainment's open-world Star Wars game on the way. There's also a brand new Star Wars FPS coming from Respawn, as well as Zynga's Star Wars Hunters, which is a free-to-play team-based multiplayer game. The addition of Skydance New Media's Star Wars game adds to the already exciting lineup of gaming projects. Further, its upcoming Marvel project indicates that the studio is aiming for an ambitious future in the industry. And that's all for the video, guys. Like and share the video for a greater audience. Comment your thoughts on the topics, and donations are always appreciated. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon, and until then from SMPV, it's goodbye.